Before we start, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every story we share here is real, emotional,
I
and
want to explain something
cinematic.
important.
Something that might just
It's
stay
about
with you long
staying
after
true
the
to
video
yourself.
ends. So
You
stay
have the
with me till
strength to
the
do
end.
this.
There are moments in life when silence is louder than words. Not the quiet of a peaceful room or a gentle snowfall, but the heavy, suffocating silence that grows between people when what isn't said weighs more than what is. For the first time in a long while, I felt completely alone in my struggles. It wasn't just the kind of loneliness that comes from being physically by yourself. No, this was a deeper, sharper kind of isolation, the kind that creeps into your chest, making every breath feel slightly heavier than the last. I had just lost my job. The cafe where I had spent almost 3 years pouring coffee, perfecting lattes, memorizing regular customers' orders, had closed without warning. No notice. No soft landing. One day I was greeting people with a smile and a cup of warmth. The next, I was staring at the bills stacked on my kitchen table, panic tightening around my chest. Rent was due in less than a week, my savings barely enough for groceries or a tank of gas. I was staring straight into the kind of fear that makes your hands tremble for no reason at all. And then there was him, my boyfriend. We weren't married. We didn't live together. He had always insisted on space, boundaries, independence. At first, I thought it was healthy. Over time, it felt more like a distance I couldn't cross, a wall between us that wasn't supposed to exist. And yet, despite all that, I called him first. I hoped. Maybe I was naive. Maybe I was desperate. I don't know how I'm going to pay rent this month. I began, my voice shaking slightly. Well, you'll figure it out. He cut me off. So casually it felt like he was talking about the weather instead of the panic crushing me from the inside. I swallowed. Hard. My throat felt raw. I just thought, maybe you could help me this month? I wouldn't, he said. Then, after a pause, distractedly tapping his fingers somewhere else, he added, It's not really my responsibility, is it? You're independent. You always say so. My own words came back at me like stones. I had always prided myself on independence, on managing life on my own. But independence was not this. Being left to drown in silence, with no one to throw a lifeline. The call ended awkwardly, with neither of us quite knowing how to finish. Take care, he mumbled before hanging up, leaving me holding the phone as if it were a lifeline suddenly cut from my grasp. I stayed on the floor by the window long after, knees hugged to my chest, staring at the city outside. Its lights blinked on, one by one, indifferent to my small, personal collapse. The world kept moving while I felt frozen, small, invisible. It was late when I heard the knock. Slow, calm, steady, not desperate, not impatient. I wiped my face on the sleeve of my sweater and dragged myself up, heart hammering, stomach twisting. When I opened the door, there he was, my landlord. Always composed, polite, and considerate. Older, with a quiet confidence, as though he understood the gravity of presence without ever needing to assert it. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark skin that caught the light, eyes sharp and observant. His voice calm, measured. Sorry to bother you this late, he said, nodding once. Just following up on the rent. My stomach dropped. I must have looked a mess, hair wild, sweater huge, eyes probably red from stress or tears. Yes, I know the deadline's coming, I said, voice tight. There was a pause. Not the kind that's awkward. The kind that's listening. He let me exist in that moment without judgment. That's rough, he said finally. I'm sorry to hear it. I hated how small I felt, how exposed. I'll figure it out, I muttered. I just need a little time. His gaze never wavered. No crossed arms, no leaning forward. Just steady presence. I'm not here to pressure you, he said softly. But if you need to talk about options, my office is open. Come by tomorrow if you'd like. Options. The word echoed in my mind long after he left. I didn't know what it meant, and I wasn't sure I wanted to know. But one thought forced itself into my chest and refused to leave. I couldn't rely on the person I loved. Maybe I wasn't as independent as I thought I was. I didn't sleep that night. I lay staring at the cracks in the ceiling, counting the hum of the refrigerator, like a metronome marking my failure. Every time my eyes closed, I heard him again. Not my landlord, but my boyfriend. You'll figure it out. Words that sounded supportive, but felt like empty echoes bouncing off my own desperation. By morning, the ache in my chest had hardened into something colder, sharper. I moved through the motions because I had to, not because I wanted to. Showered without really feeling the water. Got dressed without caring what I wore. Jeans and old t-shirt, hair pulled back in a careless knot. The notice on my fridge glared at me like a quiet threat. Rent due soon. I hated that the thought of calling my boyfriend again felt impossible, humiliating. I hated knowing the conversation wouldn't be any different. And yet, somewhere between pacing and checking my empty bank account for the third time, I found myself putting on a little lipstick. Barely noticeable. Just enough to feel like I was trying. Changed my shirt twice before leaving. Simple clothes. I didn't want him to think I cared too much. But the truth? I did. The landlord's office wasn't far. Just a few blocks behind a row of shops I'd walked past countless times. The door was open, soft music playing from a radio on his cluttered desk. When he saw me, he didn't smile immediately. Just nodded, motioning me in. "You made it," he said calmly. I nodded, throat tight. I sat down across from him, feeling 12 years old again, waiting to be scolded for forgetting homework. "I'm sorry to just show up," I said finally, the words heavier than they should have been. He leaned back slightly, hands resting calmly on the chair arms. Eyes on me. Calm. Patient. "You're welcome anytime," he said. I looked down at my hands, fingers fidgeting. I didn't want to cry. I had cried enough yesterday. "I lost my job," I said again. "I don't have the rent this month. Not even part of it." The words tasted like defeat, failure. And yet he didn't flinch. "I appreciate your honesty," he said slowly. "Most people don't even do that." There was a pause. Heavy, but not suffocating. He was giving me space. "I've been looking for work," I added quickly. "I'm not just sitting around waiting for help." "I didn't assume you were," he said softly. Shame rose again, curling in my chest like smoke I couldn't escape. I hated being here. Hated needing help. Hated feeling exposed. "I don't expect a free pass," I whispered. "I know that's not how it works." He didn't argue. Didn't make me feel smaller. He leaned forward slightly, hands folded on the desk. "What if we found a different way to handle it?" he asked.